I need to tell you about the most shocking thing I've ever seen on video. About how a simple baby monitor revealed a conspiracy that destroyed my family. About how the woman I trusted with my child was never who she claimed to be. But first, I need to tell you about how she came into our lives so you understand how perfectly they orchestrated this. My name's Jessica, and I'm 31 years old. I have a 6-month-old daughter named Lily with my husband Mark, who's 33. We'd been married for 4 years when Lily was born. Mark works in tech, and I'm a lawyer. We'd planned to have kids eventually, and when I got pregnant, we were thrilled. My maternity leave was 12 weeks. Wonderful 12 weeks of bonding with Lily, adjusting to motherhood, figuring out this new life. But my law firm expected me back and we needed my income. Mark's salary was good, but not enough to cover our mortgage and expenses alone, especially with a baby. So we needed childcare. We looked into daycares, but the infant rooms were full everywhere with long waits. My mom offered to help, but she still worked full time. Mark's parents lived across the country. We needed a nanny. I posted on local job boards and got dozens of responses. It was overwhelming trying to sort through candidates. I was still on maternity leave dealing with a newborn and didn't have time to interview everyone properly. Mark offered to help. He said he'd do the preliminary phone screenings since he had more flexible work hours. He'd narrow it down to the best candidates, and then we'd interview them together. He called me one afternoon about 3 weeks before I was supposed to return to work. I think I found someone perfect. Her name is Sophie. She's 26, has 5 years of nanny experience, great references, CPR certified, early childhood education degree. She's available to start exactly when you go back to work. That's amazing. When can I meet her? She's actually available this afternoon, if you want. I already did a video call with her and she seems great, but I told her you'd need to approve too. Sophie came over that afternoon. She was pretty blonde, energetic, warm with Lily. She had a portfolio of references from previous families, certificates for CPR and first aid, a background check she'd done proactively. She talked about child development and age-appropriate activities and seemed genuinely passionate about childcare. I loved her immediately. She was exactly what we needed. We hired her on the spot. She'd start the Monday I returned to work. 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We agreed on a salary that was on the higher end, but she was worth it. The week before I went back to work, Sophie came over a few times to get familiar with our house, our routines, Lily's schedule. She was professional and capable. Mark was usually home during these visits since his tech job let him work remotely sometimes. My first day back at work was emotional. Leaving Lily with someone else, even someone as qualified as Sophie, felt wrong. But I had the trust that she'd take good care of my baby. I called during my lunch break. Sophie answered cheerfully. Everything's great. Lily just went down for her nap. We had tummy time and read books this morning. She's such a happy baby. I felt better. Sophie sent me photos throughout the day. Lily playing, Lily napping, Lily having a bottle. Everything looked perfect. The first few weeks went smoothly. Sophie was punctual, professional, great with Lily. My daughter seemed happy and well cared for. I had no complaints. But then my friend, who's also a new mom, asked if I had a nanny cam. She'd installed one to monitor her nanny and gave her peace of mind being able to check in throughout the day. I hadn't thought about it. I trusted Sophie, but the idea of being able to see Lily anytime I wanted was appealing. Not because I suspected anything, just because I missed her during the workday. I ordered a nanny cam online. It looked like a regular clock, but had a hidden camera that connected to an app on my phone. I could watch live footage or review recordings. I set it up on the living room shelf one Sunday evening where it had a clear view of most of the main floor. I didn't tell Sophie about it. Not because I was trying to catch her doing something wrong, but because I'd read that nannies sometimes act different when they know they're being watched. I wanted to see natural interactions with my daughter. Monday morning, I kissed Lily goodbye and left for work. Sophie arrived right on time. Once I got to the office, I opened the app on my phone. There was Lily in her bouncer seat. Sophie was sitting on the floor next to her making faces and Lily was giggling. It was adorable. I felt good about my choice of nanny. I checked in a few times throughout the morning. Sophie was attentive and engaged, playing with Lily, talking to her, changing her diaper, giving her a bottle. Everything looked exactly as it should. Around 1 o'clock, I checked the app again. Sophie was putting Lily down for her afternoon nap in the pack-and play we kept in the living room. Then I saw something that confused me. The front door opened and Mark walked in. But Mark was supposed to be at the office. He'd left that morning for an important meeting. I watched Sophie look up and smile at him. He walked over and kissed her. Not a friendly peck on the cheek, A real kiss on the lips, his hand on her waist. I stared at my phone in shock. What was I seeing? Was this a weird angle? Was I misunderstanding? They were talking, but I'd installed a camera without audio to save on cost. I could only see them, and what I was seeing was my husband kissing our nanny in our living room while our daughter slept 5 feet away. Mark sat down on the couch. Sophie sat next to him, close, too close. His arm went around her shoulders. She leaned into him. They stayed like that for over an hour, talking, laughing, touching, intimate in a way that was unmistakable. When Lily woke up and started fussing, Sophie got up to get her. Mark left through the front door. I sat at my desk, unable to process what I'd just witnessed. My husband had come home in the middle of the day to spend time with our nanny, and they were clearly more than employer and employee. I felt sick. Was Mark having an affair with Sophie? How long had this been going on? Was this why he was so helpful with the hiring process? I didn't know what to do. Confront them immediately. Watch more to understand the scope of it. I decided to wait to watch to see how deep this went. The next day, I watched the nanny cam all day from my office. Sophie was good with Lily all morning, but at 12:30, Mark came home again. Same thing. He kissed her, they sat together on the couch. They were clearly involved. This time I noticed something else. Sophie was wearing different clothes than when she'd arrived that morning. Like she'd changed, and when Mark arrived, he was carrying a shopping bag which he gave to her. She pulled out new clothes and a small gift box. They weren't hiding that this was a relationship. They were acting like a couple. I watched this happen every day that week. Mark would come home around noon or 1. Sometimes earlier, he'd spend an hour or two with Sophie. Sometimes they'd just sit and talk. Sometimes they'd kiss and touch. They seemed comfortable together, familiar, and Lily was always there. My baby daughter was in the room while my husband carried on an affair with our nanny. I started going back through the recordings. The camera had been recording for a week and stored everything in the cloud. I watched every day since I'd installed it. Mark came over every single day. Always when Lily was napping, always staying for at least an hour. This wasn't new. This was a pattern. But how long had it been going on before the camera? I thought back to those visits where Sophie came to get familiar with our house before starting. Mark was always home for those. Were they together even then? I needed more information. I started paying attention to other things. Mark's phone that he guarded carefully. The way he'd sometimes smell like unfamiliar perfume. How he'd started going to the gym more and dressing better. I looked through our credit card statements, found charges I didn't recognize, jewelry purchases, restaurant reservations, a hotel room, all during work hours. All on days when Sophie was supposedly at our house with Lily. They weren't just seeing each other at our house. They were going out, having dates. While I thought Sophie was watching my baby, they were together somewhere else, which meant Lily was either with them, which was horrifying, or left with someone else, which was even worse. I checked the nanny cam recordings more carefully. There were hours where Sophie and Lily weren't in frame. Where had they gone? I reviewed one full day of footage. Sophie arrived at 8. She was with Lily until about 10. Then she packed up the diaper bag and left with Lily. The house was empty until 2 o'clock when Sophie came back with Lily and Mark. They stayed until 3 when Mark left, and Sophie resumed normal nanny duties until I got home at 5:30. 4 hours unaccounted for. Where were they taking my daughter? I felt panic rising. Not only was my husband having an affair with our nanny, but they were taking my baby somewhere during the day and lying about it. I needed to know where they were going. The next day, I called in sick to work. I parked down the street from our house and waited. Sophie arrived at 8. At 10:15, she came out carrying Lily in a car seat. She put her in the back of a car and drove away. I followed her. She drove to a house about 20 minutes away. Nice neighborhood, single family home with a yard. She took Lily inside. I waited 15 minutes, then walked up to the door and knocked. Sophie answered, holding my daughter. Her face went white when she saw me. Jessica, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. Whose house is this? She didn't answer. I pushed past her into the house it was lived in. Furniture, decorations, photos on the wall, photos of Sophie and Mark together. I walked through the house like I was in a dream. Everything was set up like a home. A kitchen with food, a bedroom with a made bed, and another bedroom set up as a nursery. A nursery with a crib, with baby clothes in the drawers. with toys and books, a whole nursery for my daughter. What is this place? My voice was shaking. Sophie was crying now. It's our house. Mine and Mark's. Your house. You live here together. She nodded. I felt like I couldn't breathe. How long? We've been together for 2 years. We've lived here for about 8 months. 2 years. Mark had been with Sophie for 2 years, since before Lily was born, since before I even got pregnant. I sat down on their couch, holding my baby. You're not even a real nanny, are you? Sophie shook her head. I work in marketing. Or I did. Mark supported me to quit so I could do this. So you could pretend to be our nanny. He wanted to be able to see me during the day, and he wanted me to bond with Lily. Why would he want that? She didn't answer, but I suddenly understood. Because he's planning to leave me. He's planning to end up with you, and he wanted you to already have a relationship with Lily. Sophie looked at the floor. We didn't want to disrupt her life. She'd already be comfortable with me when Mark left you and got custody. Custody? He's planning to try to take my daughter. He's her father, and I've been her primary caregiver for months. We have a better case than you think. I felt rage like I'd never felt before. You're not her caregiver. You are my husband's girlfriend playing pretend. I'm real to Lily. She knows me. She's comfortable with me. I've been taking care of her all day, every day, while lying about who you are. Just then, the door opened. Mark walked in and froze when he saw me. Jessica, what are you doing here? I held up my phone, showing the nanny cam footage. Caught you. I've been watching you two for over a week. I know you come home every day. I know you kiss her. I know you take our daughter here to this house you apparently share with your girlfriend. Mark looked at Sophie. You brought her here? I followed her after watching you two on the nanny cam for days. We have a nanny cam. Mark looked panicked. Yes, and it recorded everything. Every visit. Every kiss. Every time you left our daughter with your girlfriend while you pretended to be at work. I can explain. Explain what? That you've been having an affair for 2 years. That you hired your girlfriend to be our nanny. That you've been bringing our infant daughter to your secret house. Which part needs explaining? Mark ran his hand through his hair. I was going to tell you, I was waiting for the right time. The right time to tell me what? That you're leaving me for the nanny. That you want custody of our daughter. He didn't answer. Sophie spoke up. We love each other. And we both love Lily. We can give her a stable home. You're a liar who pretended to be a nanny. You're not giving my daughter anything because you're never seeing her again. I took Lily and left. Got in my car and drove straight to a lawyer's office. Explained everything. Showed them the nanny cam footage. The lawyer was shocked but said this was actually very helpful evidence. I filed for divorce that day. Filed for full custody. Restraining order against Sophie having any contact with Lily. Police report for fraud since Sophie had used fake credentials to get hired. Mark tried to fight it. Claimed he had rights as a father. But the nanny cam footage showed him conducting an affair in our home while our infant daughter was present. Showed him conspiring to deceive me. The fake nanny credentials Sophie had used counted as fraud. His plan to establish her as primary caregiver to help with custody showed premeditation. I got full custody. Mark got supervised visitation only. Sophie was charged with fraud for the fake references and credentials. Her real background was in marketing, and she'd never worked as a nanny before the house they shared together. I found out Mark had been using marital funds to pay for it. My lawyer went after him for that too. The whole thing took 8 months to resolve legally. 8 months of court dates and lawyers and custody evaluations. But I won everything. Mark lost his job when his employer found out about the affair and the scheme. Sophie lost her fraud case and had a record. Their relationship didn't survive the stress. They broke up about 5 months after everything came out. I have Lily full-time now. Mark sees her twice a week for 2 hours at a supervised visitation center. He pays child support. That's the extent of his involvement. I hired a new nanny, a lovely woman in her 50s who came through a licensed agency with real verifiable credentials. I still have the nanny cam. Trust issues don't go away easily. It's been a year and a half since I installed that camera. A year and a half since I discovered my husband's affair and elaborate scheme. I'm still processing how he could do this. How he could hire his girlfriend to care for our daughter. How he could bring her to their secret house. How he could plan to take custody using her fake relationship with Lily. The calculated nature of it is what haunts me most. This wasn't a spontaneous affair. This was planned, orchestrated. He found a way to have his girlfriend in our home every day, paid for with my money, while I went to work thinking my daughter was safe with a qualified nanny. Lily is 2 now. She doesn't remember Sophie. She's bonded beautifully with our real nanny. She's happy and healthy and has no idea what her father tried to do. I'm dating again. It's hard to trust, but I'm trying. I'm very upfront about what happened. If someone can't handle that, I have trust issues and security cameras. They're not right for me. I still watch the nanny cam sometimes. Not because I don't trust our current nanny, but because seeing Lily happy and safe throughout the day gives me peace. Reminds me that I protected her. That I found out before Mark's plan could fully develop. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't installed that camera. Would Mark have left me after establishing Sophie as Lily's primary caregiver? Would he have fought for custody and potentially won because she'd been taking care of Lily for months? The camera saved us. That simple decision to be able to check in on my baby exposed a conspiracy that would have destroyed our lives even more than it already did. So I want to ask you something. If you found out your nanny was actually your spouse's girlfriend and they'd planned this whole scheme together, how would you react? Would you have suspected something sooner? And do you think parents should always have nanny cams even if they trust their childcare provider? Because I'll never not have one again. If you've discovered your nanny was actually your spouse's girlfriend hired as part of an elaborate scheme to take your child, what would you do? Would you confront them immediately or gather evidence first? And should all parents have hidden cameras to monitor childcare? I want to hear your thoughts because this experience changed how I view trust completely.